joke. Oh, I know. It was Paul Rudd was on. Well, he's on a series. He was on Dak Shepard. He was on Armchair Experts. That's why I just most recently listened to him on the way back from Matt's hockey tournament. But I saw he was on Smartlist too. I went to click on it and then it like disappeared. And so instead I got to listen to Billy Crudup this morning, who I absolutely love. Billy Crudup. I think he's like he's 10 years older than me, so a little bit older than you. But like I feel like he's my generation's Burt Lancaster, in the sense of he didn't really start acting seriously until his late 20s, early 30s. And he was a little like petulant and like prickly, or got like a reputation of being like prickly as an actor or early on, and Almost Famous and the Prefontaine story, Without Limits, and a couple others. And then he sort of just like went right into theater acting. Anyway, he's awesome.
I'm trying to think of who
that. He won the Emmy for the morning show. He's Corey. He's like the TV producer. He's like the station guy who comes in and just like unapologetically like just promotes like, I love chaos. Chaos is what we're all about. Like, we're the entertainment industry. If we're not dancing on the edge of chaos, then we're not doing our job.
I remember him from Almost Famous. He was the guitar player.
Yeah. He's the golden god.
And he was also Barry Allen's father in Justice League. Yes.
And so, right, like you look at if you were to list his stuff, I mean, he was in Mission Impossibles. He always plays, not always, but he often plays, you look at him and you imagine he's going to be the, snarky, smarmy, like, I don't like him, bad guy. But then he turns out to be everybody's best advocate. Like, that's what I mean. Like, he dances and toes kind of that line of like, I don't like him, I like him. One of my favorite, I love him as Steve Prefontaine in Without Limits. I love that movie. But he's in Big Fish. He plays Albert Finney's son in the present day. And so he's trying to figure out if all of Albert Finney's stories are lies. And Albert Finney as a kid is played by Ewan McGregor. And it's like, it's magical and mystical. It's these, Ewan McGregor going through all of Albert Finney's stories of his life and how he met the mom and joining the circus, whatever. And so Billy Crudup finally kind of comes to this. I mean, the whole movie, if you watch it, it's just gonna make you cry. It's about dads and sons. It's about sons realizing that their dads are human and that maybe their stories are true or not, but it doesn't matter. The stories were always just the dad's way of trying to make the son be impressed so that he would love him more, so that the son would love the dad more, because the dad loved the son more than it was possible. And it's like, and then Billy Crudup's character realizes it at the end, at the dad's funeral, at Albert Finney's funeral, when all of the characters from the story start walking in. Danny DeVito as the circus director, the woman with the bearded woman, like all, and they're real people with like echoes of what Albert Finney's stories alluded to.
Gotcha.
And it's that moment, and again, it's the power of Billy Crudup as an actor. His face depicts the character's awakening of, oh my God. And they had kind of forgiven each other at the end. Like, I'm remembering, I haven't seen it in a long time. I'm trying to remember, like he doesn't have this feeling of like, oh my God, I waited too late. I should have apologized, or I wish I had done more with my dad. But there's this like beautiful blending of regret, but also forgiveness and acceptance and whatever. And then I would say a glimpse of like happiness. Like Crudup's character's face is like, oh, he's happy. He's happy that he had gotten the chance to know his dad in that way. And it's, anyway. So if you haven't seen the movie, folks, A, I just ruined it for you. I gave you the ending. B, doesn't matter because it's been out forever, so it's not my fault, it's your fault. And
For a long
C,
time. Yeah.
C, it's still totally worth seeing because it's
Yeah.
about the journey, not the destination.
Amen. I remember I saw that movie. I feel like when that movie first came on a long time ago, Meg wanted to watch it, and I didn't really. I was like half paying attention, and so I remember like I've seen it, but I don't remember it at all. Plus, this was pre-kid, so it didn't connect anyway.
Yeah, dude. Especially as a dad of 2 sons, you'll watch it and you're gonna. I don't know. I still cry. I cry at every movie though, man. That's why I watch them by myself in the dark in my room with the door locked under the covers. And I'm talking about movies, folks. Get your mind out of the gutter.
Movies that he cries to. That's what the
Yeah.
tissues are for, because he's crying.
He's crying. Are you crying? He's crying. Why is he crying? But we're not here to talk about my nocturnal activities.
Yeah, man. No, we are not. That's the Patreon. You want to pay
That's
extra?
right. AMA monthly
There you
AMA for what, $5 a month? What's our? Do we have? I mean, in the tradition of Plato, do we have like gold standard, silver standard, bronze standard?
I feel like we should, right? Like I feel like $5. You might as well.
So like $50 a month is gold. Like make it like $50, $5.
I guess. Do we leave that question to the viewers and listeners? Like, what are you willing to pay for the platinum package?
Ooh, platinum.
Right?
That's
Like
like
what?
Yeah.
Like if you want to get your hands on our platinum package, what are you willing to pay? Did I word that right? I totally had.
No touching will be taking place. This is not a podcast. Podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Not affiliated with CrossFit, Fairwinds, 2 Rows in a Box LLC, or any other form of commercial enterprises. We now return you back to your original program.
And here we are. Oh man, yeah. No, that would be perfect. No, but yeah, the pre. I was kind of the pre conversation, the Patreon conversation to this podcast started with the conversation of this nutrition jumpstart, and I kind of liked where you're going with it, because it was like, are you for it? Are you against it? Is it just that it's such a sticky subject that it like really deserves a lot of thought, or does it need a lot more thought, or does it need that much more thought? Is it as simple as we say it is, or as it should be, or is it way more complex? And it's really just it's why you said if there's 3 things you don't talk about at the dinner table, it's sex, politics, and nutrition.
Well, actually, I said it's the fourth unspoken unspoken topic for dinner: sex, politics, and religion. And nutrition should get added into that. Yeah. So there's 3 things we talk about. There's 3 things we don't talk about here at the dinner table: sex, politics, and nutrition. And we also don't talk about the shit you're eating. That's the nutrition, like really, because nobody does. Nobody wants to.
It's like, ooh, what's in this sauce? I'm not supposed to talk about it.
Right. And it's so funny, like that the hierarchical pyramid, the hierarchy of fitness in CrossFit. It's right there over top of your left shoulder, right? Oh, look at you! Is that zoom? Are you zooming in, or are you just moving your computer?
I'm moving. No, I'm moving the computer.
Oh, okay, that's pretty. Wow.
Extreme close up.
Wow, that's technology right there. It's the base of the pyramid, and the pyramid isn't linear in a sense of like only deal with your nutrition, then do your cardiovascular respiratory endurance, then do your gymnastics, then do your weightlifting, then do your you'll be premier of sport. But it is the foundation of the pyramid. And I found it very interesting in the it was awesome. Best Hour of the Day guys were talking with Denise Thomas, I think, recently. They do that level 1. They do the level 1 dissection series.
Yep.
And both of them admitted, I mean, Fern, and he's got probably one of the most successful affiliates in the Hampton Roads area, which is one of the most successful affiliate regions in the world. And his gym has not had a dedicated nutrition program ever.
Until I think he just
Started.
hired someone like within the last like 6 months, like got a
Right.
Yeah. And they've been an affiliate for 12 years or something. Yeah.
And I don't say that as like a judgment of like, oh my God, what a fraud. Why I say that is, this is a guy who's been doing, and he got me into it in 2009. He's been doing it at the highest of levels. He's on seminar. He knows how to do it. And he, whether consciously, subconsciously, just through sheer, like, it just doesn't make business sense, didn't have it as a critical component to his affiliates' success and the success of his members institutionally or programmatically. So to say offhand, just say offhand, I don't understand why it's such a big deal. It's just so simple. It's such a simple thing that everyone just makes complicated. I think that statement in of itself is the problem, because it's not. It's not simple. It's actually one of probably the most complicated and difficult things that as humans we can tackle.
Yeah.
Is how to provide for ourselves nutrients and healthy ingestion of substances throughout our waking hours to make us optimize our physical, mental, emotional performance.
And that's weird, because
right?
I said that it's like, it's just so simple. And you had said something before,
and I grimaced and I
no,
chuffed.
and I'm glad you did, because you said something before too. Like, I say it's simple on this very surface level thing where, we said like, well, if you're eating 3 double cheeseburgers a week, don't eat 3 double cheeseburgers a week, right? And
right.
like,
doctor, hurts when I go like this. Doctor says, don't do that anymore.
Right, and like, so you're like, on the surface that seems really simple, and then you also said something else that's like, but it's also not. You said it's about something else, but it's not about the double cheeseburger.
No,
to an extent
never
too.
is.
And so that's where.
Well, even you flashed up, and for those who have seen it and those who won't or haven't or whatever, you start the first thing with just pick one habit and instill. Don't share your screen. I would say here it was messy when you did it as a demo for us. Unless you really really want to, but I don't think we've invested in the appropriate graphics program to make that share screen a smooth.
I played ahead. I think I could have, but it's fine.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
And it was drink what? It was 3 glasses of water, or
2 liters of
water, right? Which
water a day.
It cracks me up, dude. We're Americans. Liters? What the hell's a liter? We don't drink liter cola. I want a liter cola.
There's two types of countries. There's 2 types of countries in this world, Jack. Those that use the metric system and those that have been to the moon.
Oh man. I mean, so even that, like, so you have this thing that, quote unquote, on the surface is so simple. Just drink 2 liters of water. But there is so many signifiers in that statement alone. Let's just start with, it is using a measurement system that we don't use, but is used in the context of science and scientific pursuits. People that are in the know. So it's like not even subconsciously, but like subliminally telling you this is legit. This is a real scientifically proven thing. Look, they even use the metric system and liters to measure it. Drink a glass of water every time you sit down, right? Or whatever. Like, even that. Well, that just seems stupid. I'm gonna have to pee all the time. What do I don't really need to drink. And we're Americans, so it said drink a glass of water every time I sit down. So if 1 glass is good for me, 4 must be even better. So I shove 4 glasses of water every time I sit down. Next thing you know, this person's got a major kidney issue. They're in the hospital for overconsumption of the hyponatremia or something, whatever.
Yeah, one's hyper, one's hypo.
Yeah, and now there's an article in the New York Times. Is too much water too bad for you or something, right? Like something like headline grabbing, like, and now everyone's like, fuck, I thought water was good for me. And here's my CrossFit gym that gave me rhabdo and wrecked my shoulder. They're telling me to drink 97,000 glasses of water. No, they said 2 liters, but that's okay. Right? So there's that.
Yeah.
But then we talked about the fact that it is driving people towards a habituation of a behavior that they are innately or supposedly, or I'm assuming, not currently doing. So I asked you the question, with that in mind, do you believe that people are innately good or innately bad?
I feel like people are innately good.
So that's good, but yet you are promulgating a process or a and not in a bad way, right? Remember that.
No, this is no.
You are promulgating a program that inherently is telling the users of that program that if left to their own devices, they will fall short, that they will not do this thing, that you're having to habituate them to doing something that they are already not innately doing. So until they met you, not you, but until they met your program, they have been left to their own devices. And in that process of being left to their own devices, they have veered towards bad behavior for their health.
In which case now they're here. And
now they're here.
Now they're here asking for help to get them.
And so you're going to offer them a process that will habituate them away from their natural inclinations towards behavior that is good.
So where my thought is, though, I feel like they are innately good. They've been left to their own devices, but this is where I guess this is more nuanced than that, though. Like people want to do well, but also they don't. I mean, with all the stuff that's out there, like you said, if they tell me to drink 1 glass of water, 4 is better. And then
so that's if left to their own devices, right? If left to their own devices, people will overdo it. People will want programming 7 days a week. People will, right? Like, so it's just, and there's no right answer here. This is the constant circle.
I love that you said the intent. The intent is they want to do good, but left to their own devices, they haven't been doing good. So I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
But I love that you said it's more nuanced than that. And we haven't even gotten into fat, protein, or carbs. Macronutrients. We haven't even dusted the surface of like micronutrients and all the mineral. What supplements should I be taking? And should I take this multivitamin? Should I have fish oil or not? If I'm taking fish oil, should it be sourced by krill or Nordic salmon or, right? Like, should I drink it? Should I pill it? Should I goop it? Like, should I put it in my shake? Like all this stuff. Right? What shake should I take? Oh my God, that rhymes. Right. So this is just 2 liters of water a day. And we haven't even gotten off the launch pad yet. Like I'm still drinking coffee. So this is what I mean when I say it is a false illusion and then innately destructive to the initiative to offer people healthier behaviors and habits, to go in with the assumption, A, that it's easy, B, that it's simple, and C, that everybody should be able to do it. I think if you just remove all those assumptions, this is extremely difficult. It is extremely complicated and nuanced. You are probably going to fail significantly more often than you succeed. And C, not everybody's going to do it very well. Statistically speaking, actually, most of you aren't. Like that, just going in with that assumption that perfection and success are extremely, by standardized, kind of popular metrics, success and what did I say? Ease and success, perfection and success are I would say off the table. Like 100% are not going to be obtainable for most people.
Is this where, like, kind of going back to our conversation last week, where it's just that what success is just needs to be looked at? There needs to be a different picture of what success actually is.
For our audio only listeners,
He's
I
not
am dramatically and
emphatically
and dramatically shaking my head yes.
Okay.
And it starts with, what the fuck do you want to do? Right? Like, what are you willing to do, and what do you want to do? Right? Like, I want to lose 50 pounds.
Okay.
Got it. Like, great. What does that mean? What does losing 50 pounds mean? What does it look like when it's done? What do you do afterwards? Like, piece of cake. Let's chop off your left leg. Done.
Piece of cake or cake?
Yeah.
I can do a piece of cake.
Right? Like, and what happens when you don't lose 50 pounds? Right?
Yeah.
What is that the only metric we're going to use to measure? I want to be able to do 10 pull-ups. Okay, well, what does that mean? What happens when you do the 10 pull-ups? What is that the only measure of success? Is that it? I want to lower my cholesterol. Why? Why do you want to lower your cholesterol? What does that mean? I want my heart rate to do that, blah, 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 right? Like all these other singular, unilateral measures of success. And by putting somebody into that very narrow target, what's the likelihood that they're going to hit it? Right? 0. I assume that everybody, it is an unfair playing field. Everybody is starting at a disadvantage. Innately, we will lose out to our appetitive desires within ourselves, that our vices will always win in the end, because we are innately animals that were blessed with a glitch in the system of reason and rationality. And unfortunately, that reason and rationality continues to be at odds with the thing that feels most natural. Eat that whole fucking pizza and wash it down with that gigantic chocolate called peanut butter Buckeye shake, right? Like, I don't understand why I don't get to eat that, right? Like, it is right there and it is so good. And fill in the blank, that's mine, right? Like, pizza is my kryptonite. I can have a plan in place. I can have talk myself what I'm going to do, how it's going to go. And when I get there, and after the 6th piece, there's a piece and a half left, and everyone's like, oh, should we just leave this or wrap it up? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Waste pizza.
That's going in my mouth, right? Like that, I'm finishing that pizza. Like it's not going. And then for like a day and a half afterwards, my joints hurt, my head hurts, I'm sneezing, I'm swollen. And
not the good swole. Yeah.
No, I do it every single time.
Yeah.
That makes no sense. It makes sense because that's what you're battling against internally, not even to talk about what you're battling against by society. Food is politics. Food is a commercialized capitalistic industry that is simply in the business of making you need and want more, right? So all of that at bay, or all of that at play on us. When I say to somebody, this is so simple, I don't know why we're overcomplicating it. I just passive aggressively said to that person, the reason you haven't had success up to now is because you're a failure. This is so simple. I don't understand why you don't get it. This is so easy. What do you mean? Like, oh God, just drink 2 liters of water a day. Start with that, right? Like, instead of saying like, wow, good for you for recognizing that you're not feeling, looking, acting, performing, whatever, thinking in the way that you want to. Great. That's so very proud of you. I'm happy that and empowered and heartened that you've asked me to be part of your choice of making changes in your life. I'm going to tell you, this is going to be hard as shit, right? Like, it is complicated and it is super messy, and you're probably not going to end up where you think you want to get to along this path. But along the path, you may learn some things that you didn't know. You may confirm some things you already knew. And really what it comes down to is we've got to change your habits. We got to change your thinking habits. We got to change your activity habits throughout the day. You probably got to change the things you surround yourself with. If you open your cupboard and most of it's chips and processed food, guess what? At some point, you're going to probably have to have a full cleaning day and go full on like Alcoholics Anonymous abstinence period, because otherwise, if you just don't make full sale, wholehearted change, you're never going to know what the pendulum feels like coming back. But if you try to just ease your way into it, I'm telling you, you're going to ease your way right back into where you already are.
That's right, like, because that's so, like you said, you were talking, it's talking about food, but it, like you said before, it has nothing to do with food. Like you said, you just brought in habit and replacing habits, or, well, I guess you said change habits, but then also is it like you try to, because like deep down, like that habit's wired in there. You're not replacing it. It's there. You're like, I guess what the saying is, is replacing the right word or not? Yeah, because like smokers always wanted to smoke, right? So you got to override it. Like I had this great story. This guy was talking about his dad smoked, but he only ever smoked in the car, and he knew he needed to quit smoking, and he realized anywhere else had no problem. As soon as he got in the car, he had to smoke, and he realized that was his like trigger. He was wired that when he got in the car, he had to smoke. So he replaced, and he always had his cigarettes like in the armrest. Well, he took the cigarettes out of his car and put lollipops in there instead. And he would get in his car and he would just start sucking on a lollipop. And he was like, and it conquered his fix. But he always had that itch.
He didn't die of lung cancer. He didn't die of lung cancer, but his dental bill went up by 385% that year.
It might be worth it in the long run, I guess.
Right? Well, exactly. Like it's quid pro quo.
Yeah,
exactly. Like at some point you got to pay. You got to pay to play, and that. So here, that on-ramp, that nutrition on-ramp is not a bad start, right? Like, because most people, A, don't want to hear that, and B, you don't have the infrastructure in place. I'm going to tell you what you have in place.
Yeah.
What is your current infrastructure to support somebody who says, Eric, I want nutrition help?
That's the extent of it, because it's outside of, it's really, the infrastructure right now is we can do check-ins and we can have conversations, but like my understanding, or I guess experience, doesn't go much farther outside of like the level 1. And so I would say
even the level 2, right? Because you have a level 2 qualification, and they go over nutrition,
but even that, like it's but I mean it's
an hour and a half lecture of behavior change based on shaky psychology.
Right.
I got a problem with change, but whatever.
Yeah.
Again, don't work for CrossFit, not part of the seminar staff.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, my inbox does not have a request for feedback. So no, like I would honestly, that's one of those things I think Fern talked about it with Rife, where it's just like for a long time too, like, well, what is that infrastructure like? Because you want to have conversations with people about nutrition. Like we're now what, 40 minutes in, and so what does that even look like? So I would say the infrastructure is almost non-existent outside of side conversations here and there. Yeah. And here's the deal. It's also like, we get real like icky about qualifying that when people make certain choices about what to eat, not lumping that into judgment of them as a qualification of them as a person.
Yeah.
Right. So, but yet the language we're using, good choices, bad choices,
Right.
Healthy choices, unhealthy choices. These are innately virtue qualifications of somebody's character, of their nature.
I think food's a lot way too, where it's like, I don't know, like, yeah, I'm gonna like, I love cheeseburgers, and cheeseburger is a bad food, but like, they're still good, and like, it's like the word competition in the gym, like using the competition. It's such a sticky word, and people are like, I'm not competitive, and I don't want to be a competitive gym. Well, competition, depending on the atmosphere, like a little competition can be good. Too much competition, a little bit of fire can warm your house. Too much fire will burn your house down. And I think food is very much that same way, where like, instead of like good or bad, like, yeah, there's stuff that you can have, but too much of it will burn your house down. But every once in a while, it'll keep you warm and toasty.
And for a lot of
Even
people,
then.
yeah, I like that. I mean, what you're describing is the Aristotelian mean, the golden mean, the idea of finding that middle ground, because everything in its excess becomes its opposite. That's not Aristotle. I think that's like some Chinese.
That's Aristotle.
Aristotle, yes. Actually, I think it's Brooks-Aristotle. Brooks Worderman.
I think that's probably where it was a grade. Yeah,
that's where I first heard it, and he was in his traditional Chinese medicine course work when he came to me. Anyway, but they all, I mean, so courage is a virtue. If you have too little of courage, you're a coward, right? Cowardice. And if you have too much courage, it's rashness, right? So the enemy is firing from a certain direction. It's not courage just to run directly into the fire, aka Marine Corps. It is that's for all the Marines out there.
Wasn't that was like an ad?
Move to contact. What's that?
Yeah, I think that was an ad too for the.
It's a tactical SOP, standard operating procedure, in the Marine Corps field manual. Move to contact. Where's the enemy? I don't know. Let's just move until we take contact, then we'll turn in that direction, because now we know where the enemy is. That's an actual like tactical field procedure. Anyway, so, but in a sense, doing that too much is rashness, and you're going to get killed. So courage is the middle ground between these two things. That's your Aristotelian virtue ethics 101, the golden mean, finding the middle. But it's not like a mathematical mean in the sense of it's like right in the middle oftentimes, because there's certain traits and vices and virtues where like there is no middle ground for evilness. Like even just a little bit of evilness, not very good, maybe. But so this is where it becomes.
I mean, evil, quasi evil,
little evil. I like that. So what you just described is finding that golden mean, or that middle ground, because the person who weighs and measures all of their food, takes their own, homemade paleo ketchup to the restaurant, has Tupperware, right? Like, unless it's for the context of they are going to the games this year and they plan on winning, right? That's great. They are an imbalanced person in pursuit of a very slim purpose, and I would argue unsustainable. Maybe for a couple of years they act that way, but at some point they will have to re-enter into society, and they're probably not going to be that way all the time. They're going to move towards some sort of sustained middle ground. That's the part where I think is open for that nuanced discussion and that individualization for each person. What is your middle ground? 99% of us are probably going to fall within the same corridor of space in regards to macronutrient profile, eating times, volume or quantity, types, price, access, ease, all of those things, the habituation of your daily routine, like how often can you have that cheeseburger and it not really derail everything? How often can you have it? And it does derail everything, right? If you're a bit of somebody who has maybe not a diagnosed eating disorder or disordered eating habits, maybe a cheeseburger every now and then on the weekend nights, or Saturday, you're able to have some looser boundaries Friday and Saturday. Sunday, you wrap it back up. By the time Monday rolls around, boom, 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 right? You're somebody who can turn it on and off. Great. Then your middle ground's cool. But if you're somebody that wants that sled starts rolling down the ski slope, you're a pile of cheese fries and buffalo chicken dip, what's that? Cloudy with a chance of meatballs, right? Like you're swimming in.
Did I send you a picture of my dinner last night?
You're swimming in a buffalo chicken cheese dip pool with
I want that pool.
Cheese or cheddar cheese fry floaties on your arms.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, sticky.
I want to go to there.
Land of chocolate, baby. Land of chocolate. Land of chocolate. That conversation, though, as you just said, 40 minutes later, how do you have the time? Who at your gym, who are you paying, has the time to have that conversation with 50 people a month?
Yeah.
And how much are you going to pay? And how much are you going to pay, or how much are you going to charge the clientele to get that level of individual care and attention to chart their path and their journey as if on par or at the same value that they feel they're getting from their current class offerings?
Yeah, because that's one of those things where it's, Ariel and I have talked about it, and we've talked about even doing like an 800-gram challenge, something like that, and then using that as like a.
Sorry, that was my. Oh.
And I've always kind of bristled at the idea of a challenge. And I'm like, well, if it's something that someone feels like because people want challenges, they like challenges, so I want to give them. Part of me wants to give them what they want, but also know this is such a small piece of the pie. Like, what do you do? It's like the whole 32. Like, what do you do afterwards? What did you learn from it? What are you taking away from it? Like, it has to be, what is it really that you're trying to do with it? But then using that as a jump off, where it's like, okay, someone wants to do more nutrition coaching, and so the question she and I had a conversation of, okay, well, how many people do you think you can realistically do nutrition coaching for? Because it's not, like it was you're gonna have we're gonna say you have this many people that you could do it with. We also have to make sure you have the time, because it's not and then it's at the right cost, because it's not something you can do it's not something you should do for free. It's not something that it's something that's going to take a lot more time, care, and attention than just checking up with them before class, after class at the gym. And so it's something the person that really, if they really feel like it's something that they want and need, there is a cost. There is definitely a cost, but we also want to make sure that cost is, the person that we're charging you, the person is able to give you what it's worth.
Yeah. And so then there's also, right. So now you and I having this conversation is totally legal, but if you were to exchange money, we are both now in violation of Maryland state law.
Yeah.
That I am not qualified or licensed to offer nutritional guidance and it's the second money is exchanged and any sort of deliberate prescription is offered for the consumption of food or nutrition, you need a license. You need a Maryland license. A Maryland license that there's a series of things. You don't have to be a registered dietitian. That's a whole nother thing. Yeah. But there are other licensures that you need to get in Maryland in order to conduct this level of prescriptive coaching, prescriptive guidance to a client, to a paying client. So that's the other part too and each state's different. So we've just been talking about the behavioral, emotional, psychosocial aspect of it. We haven't even started to talk about the actual, okay, well, I mean, food is energetic. It has caloric value to it. Our bodies break it down through chemical and hormonal systems that trigger metabolic processes within us. Those are all real things too. And those are components to this that would need to be discussed with somebody. So are they going to do blood work prior to embarking on a program?
Right.
Are they going to take a psychological intake test?
Yeah.
What does and does not trigger that? Right? Do you get some sort of medical background? Have they had pre-existing conditions?
You said even from that psychological background, even going back to what you said, it's not just about the food. It's that's those are some deep things that people need to think about when it comes to food. Because like you said, it's a relationship with food. You have this relationship with food, and it's so much more than eating. Just make sure you eat 800 grams of vegetables.
So this was why the original CrossFit prescription was so effing perfect, because Glassman's goal was, and because this same level of nuance and confusion and complexity existed in the strength and conditioning world. And so he spent 25 years teasing this out, figuring out what is it going to actually take so that I can stand in a gym, have measured out a distance on a floor. I know how much this barbell weighs. I know how much these plates weigh. I know how much that dumbbell weighs. And I know a distance. And the only device I need to measure your fitness with pretty goddamn precise accuracy is this stopwatch in my hand. And the force times displacement over time equation gave the entrance, the barrier of entrance. It took that barrier of entry way, way down. So even if you don't move that great, the idea of mechanics done consistently well at intensity as a measure of your work capacity, your power output over time. The only thing I need to measure, I need to make sure you move well, I need to make sure that you can consistently do that well. Then I can start timing you. And if your time goes down, or you do more work in the same amount of time and that time stays consistent, I can make a claim that you are fitter than when you started using the methodology that you designed. This elegance in the simplicity of that prescription carried over to the elegance of the prescription of the eat meats, vegetables, nuts, seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar. Eat quantities that maintain energy and performance, limit body fat. That's it. Well, wait a second. What does that mean? No. It is really, really complicated, and we could totally make this, but how much? Good question. Here, there's this really concise and easy way to do it, and it's called zoning. It's called blocks. I'm going to objectify food. I'm going to remove the emotional, psychological, social component, and I'm going to objectify it as caloric blocks of macronutrients. 7 grams of protein, 9 grams of carbohydrate, 3 grams of fat. I'm looking at you as a human being. You're a large male. I'm going to start you out at 21 blocks a day. We're going to split that over 5 meals: big breakfast, medium snack, big lunch, medium snack, big dinner. 6. Do the math on that. Maybe 6, 3, 5, 3, 6. I think for you, if we were to, does that math work out? 6, 6, 12, 17.
You said how many blocks?
22. So it was 22. Yeah. Maybe make your breakfast a little bit smaller, your dinner a little bit smaller. Mm-hmm. Right? So that conversation, somebody hopefully was timing that, that's about 3 minutes. I can have that conversation. I can give you literature. I can give you guidance that is already prescribed, but it's prescribed in a book. I can give you a book. I'm not going to actually, right? Like it's it teeters and kind of gives me room to have this nutrition conversation with somebody. And then it's a conversation. It's not a prescription per se. It's not a clinical prescription because it's in a book and the person can just go buy the book. And then when somebody sees the benefit of what they're doing, or it's too hard, I can't do this, my answer would be like, well, what did we say when I started you out here? I said, yeah, it's really freaking hard. Yeah, it's really not everybody is going to be able to do it, and most likely you'll probably fail more often than you don't. How about this? Let's just zone 1 meal a day for 2 weeks. Now it's more in line, like your habit change or or whatever, but there's a regulatory order to it that allows for a myriad of types of people to come to it, but it's consistent. The program is consistent. In that, I think there is a greater likelihood of success than the program being kind of whatever anybody wants it to be, and then trying to meet that with the individualization of the person. Not impossible, right? Like that. But now we're talking about one-on-one coaching, an hour a week, probably 3 to 4 times a month, with very deliberate meal plans, right? Like you go from like, simple and elegant to full service, probably $1,000 a month level coaching. You know what I mean? Like there's because otherwise the middle ground, you're just doing it to make yourself feel good. Yeah. But there's no real return on that investment.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. And anyway.
Yeah.
Which might also explain why most gyms, most CrossFit affiliates do not venture into deliberate and integrated nutrition programs within their, right? Because it's just too hard and expensive.
Yeah. It's almost one of those things. It's almost worth, I wouldn't even say right to this, but outsourcing, but like you have this is this professional that they have on staff, but this is what she does. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, if you want it, this is the person you go to. And they just now happen to have her in-house as opposed to at this place up the street where they offer it.
Yeah. I mean, Stronger You was pretty good for a while with us.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what we did. We basically outsourced it from like,
and
for these guys.
I don't know. I think, go ahead.
I was saying, I think Stronger You, there's certain people that it works for, and there's certain people it doesn't. Like, it's one of those, I think, Stronger You is just one of many different variations. What was it? What's the one? RP. That was one that worked for that was one that like worked for Duncan at a time. But there's people that like that will not work for because it's way too stringent. Yeah. I love you. I'm getting a lot of bristles out of you today. I like it.
Well, I've done RP.
Yeah.
And it works. Like it 100% works. You are eating becomes a job.
Yeah.
Eating becomes as integrated into your daily conscience as work, as your relationship with your family, as like it is no longer a what are we eating for lunch today? I don't know. What are you in the mood for? It's like, I know what I'm eating for lunch today, and I know what I'm eating for lunch for the next 6 days because I made it on Sunday, parceled it out into individual servings, and they're currently sitting in my fridge in Tupperware. And by Saturday, I'm going to want to fucking throw that thing across the kitchen and hope my dogs eat it. Because, right, like eating becomes your job. And that's, for some people.
Right there for, yes, food is emotional.
Right. Like for some people, they absolutely love that because you've removed the question of, well, shit, what do I eat next? What do I eat now?
Oh, it's the Steve Jobs turtleneck and jeans.
Mm-hmm.
That's all he had in his closet, right? Like you don't have to think about it anymore. And it's you've just freed up a lot of brain power and a lot of eliminate a lot of decision fatigue that you can put that energy into other things by having that.
Mhm. Yeah.
But it sounds miserable.
Well, in a sense, like this, I mean, I jokingly said, like, we're going to put somebody on the moon in the next 10 years, but we're probably going to have, right? Like, there's no, when they do the math and they have the trajectory, NASA isn't going to debate, the burn rate and the burn, whatever, like they do the math on it. But what are they going to feed them?
Yeah.
Right? What's the optimal nutritional strategy for that set of human beings going to the moon, going to Mars, going to
I'm sure McDonald's
moons?
I'm sure plenty of like a McDonald's or some sort of like food company will have their hands in the pot of being able to put their hand in.
And then
that'll be the astronaut prescription based on the highest bidder.
And then this is, I mean, you just hit on a topic too of why are fast food restaurants most densely placed in and around neighborhoods of lower socioeconomic classification, like lower socioeconomic neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Right? Why are supermarkets like Whole Foods and Trader Joe's and Wegmans generally located in higher socioeconomic neighborhoods? So, right, like, to then say, this is so simple. Nutrition is so simple. Look, just drink 2 liters of water a day. It immediately creates a cognitive dissonance with what I'm seeing, feeling, and dealing with on a daily basis versus what is being told to me. And so how do I orient that cognitive dissonance? It must be me then. I must not get it. And I must not be good enough to get it. So fuck it. Why even bother? It's just easy. I'm just going to get an Arby's, whatever. I don't even know what Arby's has anymore, but they have like
roast beef, right?
But
I know they have the
meats
meats
or Carl's Jr. I'm just gonna get one of those Sonic. Or I'm just gonna do Chick-fil-A. Rich Froning eats Chick-fil-A. I'm just gonna do Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
But it's, and so recognize that. So that's where I say, like, it's not when I say to somebody, like, it's hard, you're probably going to fail more often than you're going to succeed. And the fact is, the majority of people will not hit the goal that they initially set out for themselves. If we can all agree on that, then we don't have to worry about when it gets hard, because we can say, see, I told you, it's going to be hard. Then when you fail, you'll be like, sweet, we failed. We already worried about that. We don't have to worry about it now. Let's move on. Right? Like, and then
is it even worth that idea of like, here's your goal, and you're probably not going to get your goal. Like, you're probably not going to hit your goal. But the hope is that you're going to be better off than where you are now, if that's what we're trying to do. Like, is that
so? Yeah. And this is you can do this to somebody. This is a great I don't think, we may have done this at a Whole 30 seminar. I may have done something to this. But we talked a lot about this in certain trainings that I went through in my former life. So somebody says, like, all right, our mission goal is X. Awesome. The instructor would write X on the ground, big, like chalk mark or something. Then we would take the team, blindfold all of us, make us spin around 50 times, and then say 3, 2, 1, go, find the X. How often do you think all 8 of the team members found the X?
Not often at all.
Ever. Never. Right? Because the goal was so specific and the goal was so not applicable to what the mission actually was, because you never took the time to tease out, why do you have that goal? What does this goal facilitate for you? And there was no shared communication between the team of how you were going to get to the goal, what resources you already had available to you to get to the goal, who was going to do certain things to reach that goal, what happens when you came across the first obstacle in pursuit of that goal, right? Like none of that shit was talked about. You weren't allowed. That was part of the exercise. So you could do that with somebody. Be like, awesome. I'm your goal. I'm going to stand 5 feet away from you in the gym. Put on this blindfold. Want you to spin around 25 times as fast as you can. And then as soon as you're done, I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, go. Come find me. Right? And they're going to hit their head. You're going to have a lawsuit. They're going to probably have some sort of concussive incident, like, right? Like they may be even impaled by a barbell. Lots of problems. But I'm telling you right now, they're not going to hit their goal. And it had nothing to do with them as a quality of person. It had to do with we are so bad at setting, quote unquote, a goal for a reason that facilitates some sort of manifestation of improvement in your life for a very conscious, deliberate, discerned reason for you, right? And so food feels like it's really, no pun intended or pun intended, low-hanging fruit, when in fact, it's probably the hardest fucking thing to change in your life because you do it so often and you've been doing it for so long and it's so ingrained and it comes with so much baggage that is unresolved and unexamined, right? So, God, I can think of 5 or 6 things off the top of my head to fix before, if we're talking about health and lifestyle, to fix before food. One of them is movement, right? Like exercise. Simple. 25, 30 minutes a day at relative intensity, 3 to 5 times a week. Sweet. You don't have to change any other habits. Fact is, unfortunately, exercise, like from return on investment, it's one of the easiest ones to fix, but you don't really get that much benefit right away. You could do a lot less exercise, fix your sleep, fix your stress, fix your nutrition, don't drink, right? Like, bam, you're going to be a lot healthier. Probably don't even have to exercise that much.
Dude. Oh, wait, I just got 3 emails saying cancel my membership. Thanks.
Oh, well, I didn't know we were
I don't need this. You made me do those burpees for nothing. All I had to do was sleep.
Yeah, I mean, and all that's so, I mean, like, it's kind of true. Sleep and pet your dog, man. You'll be fine.
No, sleep when I'm dead.
Don't eat that cheeseburger.
Yeah. I'll take the cheeseburger over sleep.
I
just got 3 more canceled memberships saying, what do you teach?
Sleeping on I'm sleeping, I'm dead. Send me that other shot. Give me that next shot. Let's go, guys.
Let's go.
When we're dead. Yeah.
They make pills for that. They make pills for sleep. They don't make pills for delicious cheeseburgers yet.
Not yet, right? I can't.
One day I'll be like, well, they kind of do, I guess. They Jelly Belly or Jelly Bellies, the jelly beans, the flavored jelly beans. This one tastes like buttery popcorn. This one tastes like earwax.
Did you see that study that came out that for men, it was like, I forget, I think it was Scandinavian maybe, that you have a greater chance of dying early if you have little to no social interaction as compared to smoking. So loneliness and disassociation, social disassociation, is actually more dangerous than a smoking habit. So if you wanted to live longer, get a couple friends and just have cigarettes together, throughout the day, and socialization, like actual meaningful socialization. That is more powerful than quitting smoking. That to me screams of the complexity of this fucking thing called us. That to just say your nutrition, it's simple. I don't understand why this is so complicated, is a faulty
narrative.
Distancing. Faulty narrative and a faulty distancing from something that is actually a really, really difficult and nuanced conversation and project for somebody to embark upon.
It's so definitely one of those. If it's that easy, why isn't everyone doing it?
Yeah, I mean, very, very true. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So that, with all that said, do you change your approach?
Yeah, I think the first thing you said right out of the gate was like, that just comes as part of it, but it's really like, if you really want to talk more about nutrition, there's more questions that need to be asked. And so it's, yeah, I mean, I think so. I think it's, and maybe even just change the verbiage on it a little bit from like, here are, I don't know, dig a little bit deeper into it, but not coming from I'm assuming you don't do this, so do this.
Hmm.
Because that's
Yeah.
kind of what you said. It feels like it's, I'm assuming that you're not doing these things that are good for you, so do these things.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit more, dives a little bit more deeper into that. Maybe it's that initial conversation of like, how are your sleeping habits? How much water do you drink? And just from yeah,
I mean,
because
how deep does it go culturally within the gym? That's I remember something actually I kind of saw eye to eye with on the great and wonderful Ben Bergeron about CrossFit New England when they would have parties. They did not have alcohol. They did not have pizza. They
yeah,
did not
that's
have
CrossFit Roots the same way. They don't yeah, like they don't they're when they have parties, it has to be paleo or something like that.
so
Otherwise,
that
don't
right.
bring
So
it.
that's the question of how deep does this go
Yeah.
as a and again, this stops being a question about food and it starts being a question about from what perspective do you view the world? So is it the polities, the population that you have created, your community? Is it the responsibility of the ruling authority of that organization, of that community, aka you? Is it your responsibility to create just and virtuous laws which guide the members of that polity towards the best version of themselves?
Like that's such a hard, I don't know, like because I've 100% had this thought too. Like when it comes to parties, like is that something? Is like, well, I don't know. Like you come here like for I don't know. It's for your health and wellness, and nutrition is very much a part of that, right? Like it's not just
Yeah,
burpees and cleans. Nutrition is such a part of that. But also like it's one of those, you tread that line between, I don't want people to feel guilty about the choices that they make. And I'm
right,
going to sit here and say, I don't want you to bring a food to my gym if it's not paleo. Well, I got plenty of food at my house that's not paleo. So what the hell,
right.
who the hell am I? I'm the guy at the FDA that says smoking will kill you, and I'm smoking a cigarette on my car on my way
Yeah,
to
but
the
I'm doing it with
office.
three of my friends.
And so it's hard, and it's one of those too. Like I've been, you want to go back to the COVID pandemic, I was very much a person that's like, I don't like being told what to do with my health. I'm happy to be given information, and I will do what I choose. I will do what I feel is best for me and my family and my situation. I will take that information into consideration and make the choice that's best for me. So if I sit here and tell people don't bring food that's not paleo to the gym, am I
Yeah,
am I but then at the same point, I am telling you though that doing 10 burpees is what you should be doing.
that's
And
right.
so where and
Right.
so it's such a
If you want to open gym, go down the street to 24-hour fitness.
yeah.
Right.
And
This
so
is
it's
the
such a
rules by which
that's
exact, and it's so
such a hard line to
so it's
yeah.
like a if you're consistent in one area but inconsistent in the other area, does that then undermine the legitimacy of the consistency and the other the authenticity and legitimacy of the advice you're giving in this other area?
And that's where I'll
Right.
give
Go
and
ahead.
that's where I'll fall back on like, I will only preach what I practice. And so I do these workouts in here. And so I will definitely say this is what you need. But I don't eat paleo 100% of the time. or 50% of the time. And so I'm not going to hold you to that. I'm not going to say this is the rule, because it came down to, we talked about a while ago about, yes, on Zen Planner, there's a class cap of 20 people. But if a 21st person shows up,
Right.
class is full, I'm not going to enforce that rule. I will welcome them in. I will welcome that 21st person. And so, so it's all also, I think, about what rules am I willing to enforce and what rules am I not? And so,
and if you're not going to enforce it, then why is it a rule on the books?
Why is a rule? Yeah. So
kudos
to the gyms that do that.
Yeah.
If you feel, but that's their choice.
But these are the questions. So if people are interested or curious, like, this is the stuff that classical philosophy in the form of Aristotle and Plato and Thomas Aquinas, and these are just the ones that we've gotten to in the classes that I'm in. But the politics and society question, this is at the heart of what those conversations that those philosophers are having, and they've offered to us in their writings now. That some of it seems it feels dated, or it's like, God, but that's not the society we live in. But if you take it and read it for what it is saying, and actually read it and discuss it for what it is saying, and then overlay that on what you're looking at and experiencing right now, it is fascinating how what's the word I'm looking? Not relative, but how applicable it is today.
Yeah.
That what you're describing in the current structure of, like, well, here's the information, take with it what you want, right, is like the epitome of a democracy, in the sense of like that, like, everybody has a say, but yet it's not a democracy.
It's not.
You are a monarchy. Like, you are the king. But unfortunately, in the degradation of what rules do and do not get applied, what get stated and what get applied, the democracy does not veer towards some sort of, like, liberal kind of who are the libertarian, right? It becomes a tyranny, because in the end, you have all the power. But yet, if I'm a member of that polity, I have no idea which rules will and will not be applied.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of at your whim and beck and call. And again, like, we've objectified you into this role, but this is the type of stuff like, oh shit. So if my true stated goal is the most consistent and beneficial project for the members, then sometimes things have to be put in place that individual members might not like.
Yeah.
Or that might not feel the most pleasurable at the time.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's not about each individual's joy or their individual happiness, but the happiness of the whole system.
So wait, you're telling me I'm not going to be able to make everyone happy?
It depends on how they define their happiness. And according to Aristotle, happiness is an action. That that happiness is not it's not an end that leads to other ends. It is the end in of itself. And so just because in the moment somebody does not like a certain thing, right? So I am the 21st person that shows up to that class that was capped. That 21st person did not sign up for class. They did not get there on time. They did not choose to make other changes in their life in order to have access to this thing, which
these other 20 people did.
Right? But don't worry about the other 20 people. We're just talking about this one individual. They had moments to make choices throughout their life in order to get access to the thing which we have said will yield to, or will lead to, the end of it in itself, which was happiness. But they didn't make any of those choices, and they just want the happiness. But they didn't make any of the choices in order to get it. And so they show up and they don't get access to the thing. They're unhappy. The true and virtuous choice, in my opinion, according to Aristotle, would be you don't get to come to the class. You don't have to be mean about it. There isn't, it's not me, it's the rule. Because if I let you in, it degrades the potential manifestation of everybody's happiness for you, which would be actually in the long term a disservice to you, because you don't ever have to actually change your behavior to get access to something which we have all agreed is the long-term happiness.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So it's that sense of that's what consistency actually facilitates. It's not that I actually like it in the short term. It's that it leads to a longer potentiation or habituation. And but the thing is, that, again, like that's
totally, it's funny because like putting in that context too, because like now I'm rethinking about this, letting that person come in. But it's totally like, right? Like that's, and when I think about it too, it's funny, like hearing you describe that too. I don't want to make the sacrifices, but I just want the happiness. Like, you mean like, look, I want to lose the 50 pounds, but I'm not going to sacrifice eating those 3
I'm not going to drink my 2 liters.
Well, look at how you just did that. Water. But right, that's also kind of, I think we talked about a little bit too, that short-term success as opposed to the long, or not success, pleasure over the long sustained. Like I want to feel good now, so I'm gonna like I feel better. I don't want to tell that person no because it's gonna feel crappy, and I don't want them to feel bad. So I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice potential long-term happiness for that quick little like, well, I don't want to. I feel bad, and so I'll feel better if I let them in now, instead of the if I set that standard once, hopefully it doesn't happen again. Or if it does happen again, this person might not be at the right place. So anyway, finding all these parallels.
This is where the transactions. This is also right, exactly. And nutrition is just a conceit. It's just a medium for this type of emotional transaction between two people. And so that's the part where it is a transaction. It's a transaction of opinions. It's a transaction of perspectives. It's a transaction of behavior and consistency in that behavior. And so when done by two people who are striving for virtuosity, it becomes a virtuous relationship, a virtuous friendship, right? So the person who is running late or who isn't going to make it on time, when they realize that, they go, I'm not coming to class. I'm not going to put that other person in that position. Or if it's a situation where it's like, well, you know what? No, I know because I checked. It's not maxed out. And right, like it doesn't often happen. Like this is where the nuance, like the person who's just like, this is where everything in its excess becomes its opposite. The person who is unyielding and will never, right? Good luck. That person does not exist because they will fail and make mistakes because they're human. They're not a god, right? So there has to be room for the nuance of that. But if in that nuance, the discernment is always towards what is in the best interest of our shared stated goals, objective of living the best version of the life that we can live based on what my nature is and what I know I can do and can't do and what I'm willing to do and not do and what you're willing to do and not do. And we speak that honestly with each other. And right, it's a conversation. And then every roadblock or thing that becomes like tension or conflict then it's another opportunity for deliberation, discernment, and that discernment towards the thing that is most virtuous and most in line, and not virtue like you're a virtuous person, you're not, you're out. No, like towards behavior that leads to the best version of my life, that process, that action habituated across your life is what Aristotle, in my opinion, my reading of it, is talking about happiness. Like that's when happiness shows up almost like flow, right? Like it's the bubble that if you're trying to do something to make you happy, you will never be happy. But if you live a life that is constantly rooted in discernment and active engagement with thought and choosing the best action, that's where happiness lies. And that's the part of, you're not wrong in letting that person in who's the 21st person, right? You're not wrong if it serves something you have discerned as the best way to be of best service to the community that you're entrusted with the care and feeding and nature. So that's how this conversation could also be, no, when I throw a fucking party, I want people to bring booze. I want them to bring nachos. I want them to bring ribs, right? Like, it's like, yeah, but I also have available to I have a plurality of options for everybody. And I know I'm so intimately familiar with every single person's triggers and habits that we've got a system in place for so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, right? Like, but that's an also valid strategy. It's pretty hard, but it takes a boatload of community support. It takes a boatload of investment by other people, right? Like it's totally a doable thing. It's just a matter of early and I would say prior consideration that, right? It's part of that engaged, aware life. Anyway.
It's good. That's
so you
good.
wanted to talk
like
about you wanted to talk about nutrition? What?
So do I drink the 2 liters or not? We haven't gotten past water.
Oh
That's good, man. No, thank you. That's good. I'm glad. I could tell when I was like talking about it. I was like, all right, cool. He's got opinions on this, which I'm glad because I like that's why I like, I know I can get like a real answer out of you, because there's certain things that I'm just like, there's still plenty of things. Like, I mean, that was nutrition too. Like the conversation was always like, I was liked having that conversation with you, because I feel like there's a lot more. You have a lot more. I don't know why. Like your experience, your stuff you've studied, stuff you've learned. Like, I don't know. It's because I always, and I think I don't know. I don't know where I'm going. I'm rambling now, but So when I started to see you bristle about a couple things, I was like, good. This is stuff I need to hear, and it makes for good TV.
It's why it is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Too, right? Like, if it was so simple and everybody could do it, it wouldn't be worth selling. Because, right? Like, I don't know what's no, we're fucking capitalists. We commercialize everything.
Oh, good stuff. So anyway, well, cool. Let's land this sucker. Gratitude.
I'm grateful for Google Maps and its ability for me to pick. I want tolls. I don't want tolls. I need to be home by a certain time, right? Like that. I'm very appreciative of the AI and the technology that I no longer have to use a Thomas guide and my dad's
lost art.
The lost art of navigation.
I
have outsourced, and I'm fully aware. I'm fully aware of it is making me a less capable human being, and I am so grateful for that.
But you're focused somewhere else other than
because I was fucking toast, and I still had 2.5 hours of class to go through when I got back here to Annapolis last night. So yeah,
good, cool.
anyway,
Mine is
that's my great. Thanks, Google Maps. I can't
thanks,
wait.
Google
I can't
Maps.
wait for. I can't wait for the AI overlords to turn us
Yeah.
into zoo bound pets.
Which,
By the way, I mean, like if this is the life
yes,
that I have in store for me,
yes,
I'm in. Laying
Dig it.
around all day
on board.
with the illusion of a job or the illusion of purpose. Sure,
Yeah.
I'm in. Sign me up.
Oh, man. Mine is it's probably gonna, I don't know. I've been thinking about it a lot. And it's, people are gonna laugh at me, but whatever. Pro wrestling. It's this
You like pro wrestling.
God, and right now there's this storyline. There's a storyline that's going on. I mean, you could even say it's long-term storytelling. It's long-term booking. It's this storyline that's almost, you could even say, like 3 years it's been going on for 3 years. And it's Triple H to wrestling fans, Paul Levesque to the board members of WWE, who is, currently in charge of creative control with WWE and all that. He said it the other night after this show that was in Montreal, is that, like, pro wrestling when done right is and I'm biased, is the greatest form of live entertainment. And if you think of pro wrestling, it's like, you watch a TV show, you are on the TV show's timeline. So they tell you when we advance a year, we advance a week, you advance this and that. When you read a book, you are on the author's timeline. On pro wrestling, you are in real time. It is week to week, real time. It is today. And that storyline, like, you can't jump ahead a year into a storyline. You have to take it week by week. And the art and the precision and the eye for detail, and these little things that just when you start to see them from, now looking a couple years back, how they all build up to this really cool story, to this point, like this story with Roman Reigns, who is the current champion, and he's brought in, he's formed this faction called the Bloodline, which it's him and his two cousins who he grew up with, who are more like brothers to him in real life. He is part of the Anoa'i family, who is like, they're Samoans, and it's like wrestling royalty in the Samoan family, who, if you're not familiar, The Rock is cousins with Roman Reigns of the Anoa'i family, like, big deal. So there's a lot of big names that come out of that. Well, he's been the champ for 3 years, and they've had this tight, almost like stranglehold on the in WWE on the titles and like supremacy.
Unintended.
Yes, pun intended. Sleeper hold, I guess you could say. And they let this guy, kind of, who early on was for like his own selfish purposes, trying to kind of weasel his way into this group. And he's absolutely nothing that they are. If you look at them, like, they're, the Roman Reigns' cousins, they're cool, and they've got tattoos, and they're athletic, and they're so, like, cool, even though they're bad guys, And then here comes this guy with, like, red hair, pale. He's Canadian. He's kind of a goofball, and he's somehow, like, weaseled his way into this family, to where they weren't really sure what he wanted. They didn't really trust him, but week after week, he's kind of built this trust over time, to where now they're like, they've accepted him as an honorary member of their family, right? But then all these things kind of keep happening. There's all these mental games and the psychology behind it, where it's like, okay, well, his best friend is like, no, dude, they're using you. Like, they're using you. It's like, no, I'm finally accepted. I get to be one of the cool kids now, right? You idolized the cool kids in school. Now I'm actually one of them. His friend is like, no, they're using you. And it's been this story after story to where he's proving himself to this family. And he finally, last month, he finally realized, I think I'm being used here. Right. And they were like, he finally stands up for himself, hits Roman Reigns with a chair, and is like, I'm kind of done with this. And the building exploded. Like, it absolutely exploded, because people are so emotionally invested in the storyline of this character, because it's so freaking relatable, where people see themselves in this person, where it's like, oh, I always looked up to this person. I wanted to, like, be them. But then you realize, like, oh, who are these people really? I've lost myself in this. And it's been so, honestly, it's one of the best things that they've put out in 10 years, like from a storyline perspective. And then this last week, he goes one-on-one with Roman Reigns for the title in his hometown of Montreal. And the crowd is so loud, you can't even hear their music when they come out. This guy is the underdog of underdogs, and he fights tooth and nail with Roman Reigns. Spoiler alert, he ends up losing. But they do such
You
they
ruined it for
they
me.
they do such an artful way of, he lost, but he was so close. And so he still looks strong. He's still like in the picture, but Roman is like, he's been champ for almost
Typical
1,000 days.
Canadian, the typical
Right?
Canadian story.
Right? Montreal hasn't won anything since 1987. So it's like, keep it going. And it's just so again, I get like, I try, this is my outlet. Like I have this group of friends that I talk to all the time, and we're texting each other back and forth. It's so good that like it's one of those things where it's like pro wrestling, if you just watch a match, if you just get like, hey, watch this match, you're not gonna get it. Like you're not gonna understand. You're just watching two guys beat each other up. But there's so much that goes into this match that happened the other day that you have to have it's and they're at this point in the storyline too, where it's like, if you, again, spoiler alert for Game of Thrones, you finally saw Jon Snow and Daenerys get together, but then Daenerys is like, oh man, she's gone off the deep end a little bit, and you're not totally sure what you want to happen. Do you want Jon to like help her and get her back on track? Do you want to see her go? And then when he
never
finally
would have, you never would have.
and then he finally does, like, he does it. And now everyone's like, well, so it was this huge thing. People were conflicted, like it's awesome, but now it's who becomes king. And that's kind of where they're at in the storyline right now. It's like, who becomes the king of Westeros?
Oh, I got you.
It would be really cool if it was this person to dethrone the king. It'd be really cool if it was this person. If it's this person, it's not what we really want, but it would still be kind of cool. And then there's also, remember, it could be this person where people are like, seriously, Bran, like that's what we're going with? Doesn't make any sense. Like it's a twist, but long term,
what'll keep you coming back?
Like the
payoff. What do you
imagine
imagine will keep an audience coming back more readily and more consistently?
Yeah, so like there's Cody Rhodes, who is a great story, who left WWE because he just felt like his career was going nowhere.
So rather than give me all the rundown of him, because I'll quickly lose interest because I don't have context. But that maybe it's more of a rhetorical question in the sense of what archetype character will keep the audience, you being a very intimate member of that audience, what will keep you coming back more aggressively time and time again in this medium?
I'll keep it short. There are three options. One of them being The Rock comes and dethrones the king. That is the one that if it happens, I'll be pissed off because it's a cheap grab.
It's Deus Ex Machina. The crane comes down from over top, puts the god back in place, or fixes everything, and it's like, it was a dream. I woke up and see it's all better. Everything's better. So agreed. That's the least. It's the easiest narratively, but it's the least effective cathartically.
Like it'll be initial shock right away. It'll be like, wow, that'll get people's eyes go like, whoa. But it's.
What about the other ones? What are the other options?
So the options is this guy who he fought the other night, who it's like, does he end up dethroning him? Does some other way?
Villain or hero? Is he a villain or a hero?
He's a hero. So really two other options are a hero, and other one is kind of a villain, but it's also like within that storyline. So there's like three or
is the villain salvageable morally? Like, does he have? He's a villain, but he's got like a complicated backstory. He's got the potential of like being a noble.
So you could
anti-hero.
I think villain's the best way to explain him recently too, because he's not just a bad guy who just gets under people's skin. He is like, but I guess you could say he could, because did he succumb to the pressure of upholding his name as the leader of this family, as the king? Did he succumb to trying to protect this thing by making immoral choices? Did he have to make
Right. So does the
immoral
hero does the hero win, but in winning befriend the villain, and then they become this like super troop team that like combats the villain's previous you know
kind of? So
yeah.
kind of. So it's
So yeah, it's a good. I'm with you, man.
So I
Like
apologize. This is long, but it's just like it's so good right now that it's just like it's if it was a book and if it didn't have the name pro wrestling and someone wrote this story, people would be reading this story and be like, wow, like that's how the how it's gone. It's been that good. So anyway,
I'm glad.
So I'm excited for
I'm glad that that industry has survived and facilitated that release or that sort of dramatic platform for folks to watch. It's fun.
It's so funny because I think it was like in 1989 they started calling it sports entertainment. WWE just started calling it sports entertainment and not pro wrestling. Part of it, from like a gaming licensing standpoint. So when they show up in cities and towns, they don't have to pay these luxury taxes of being a sporting event. Well, we are sports entertainment, and so it's an entertainment industry. But then the idea was also it separates itself from the rednecks and the bars in southern, the southern United States. We're not pro wrestling; we are sports entertainment, and so it's funny.
It gussies them up a little bit.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is entertainment disguising itself as a sport, and which bothers people. But it's like it's like, well, it's scripted. Yeah. What's your favorite movie? Oh, Big Fish. That was scripted, right? Those were all just actors.
I don't think anybody is going to answer you that Big Fish is their favorite movie.
It's most relevant. So anyway, thank you for letting me go on that. It's so good. And I think it's lost on Megan. She tries. I appreciate her. I love her to death. She tries.
That's your real gratitude. My wife loves me. Much.
Down to it. She tried watching the match with me the other night, and she was asking me all this
my God, that is love.
I was like, "Can we talk? Can we talk afterwards?" It's really hard to explain this right now. She's like, "Well, who's that guy?"
This is a really long story to get you to the fact that your real gratitude is your wife, Meg, because she is willing to let you watch.
It's all right. We've lost everyone at this point anyway. So awesome. Cool.
All right, man. Well, this was fun. Thanks,
brother.
Thanks for letting me play, and
thank you.
Best of luck. Best of luck with your nutrition foundation and your 2 liters of water. Liter cola. I want a liter cola.
I have to go pee. All right.
All right, man.
Cool. Thanks, brother.